Here we're at 5520. What else do we have?
I think it's 9.
900. 1000, right?
Yeah, and then we just got 38, 40, 4800.
4800. Okay. So, good for this by the end of the day? We can get this wrapped up.
I'm gonna turn
do you need midnight?
Yes. Yeah, midnight would be good.
I'm fine with
Work
midnight.
After school.
Okay. With the amount of time that we have left, I don't want to go forward with anything else in chapter 4 then. So, we will have one more homework assignment. It'll be due next Thursday on structural systems, but it'll just be the problems on wood that we talked about, okay? So, what we talked about, structural systems, was that on Tuesday or was it last Thursday?
Like for like
Last Thursday, we were talking about like the houses and the
Yep.
sheer panels and stuff.
We're gonna do an assignment on that?
Yep. It's consistent with how the class has been so far, right? I lecture about things, I give you a homework, and then you guys do the homework and come in and ask questions?
Good thing that we
Is that what we've been doing?
Don't slow this thing down with
Sounds like
math.
the routine.
Okay.
We talked for like 5 minutes.
Well, what?
I guess we would.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, you're just given the
Using
dimensions.
the charts and,
Yep.
yeah, I got you.
Check your diaphragms,
Plus
check
it
your
down.
spacing, okay? So, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here too. Do we need any more of this set up right now, left up right now? Or can we start talking about what we've been going through so we can review? And I don't have it ready yet. I was here later than I planned on being last night, so I wasn't able to get it typed up for you guys. But I'll get, those of you who have been in, well, yeah, you were all in materials too. I'll have a little sheet for you. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, here's what we looked at. Rush, regarding your question on timing, we're only going to have our class time, okay? So the types of questions that you are going to get, I'm not going to give you this and say, determine the reactions, draw the shear diagram, give me the bending diagram, okay? We don't have time for that. But we'll just walk through what we've talked about so far this semester, and then I'll talk about what you can expect on the exam as we're going through it, right? So, remember chapter 1?
Nope.
I barely.
Good?
I gotta dump week
Good.
per week.
So, what did we talk about in chapter 1? If only you had a textbook to reference, right? What did we talk about?
Live loads, lateral loads.
Yep, that's where we introduced the concept of forces and loads and what they meant, right?
Combinations.
Combinations and resultants. Okay, so that's what you can expect to see. You can expect to see resultants and combinations. Okay, so either you'll have something like this, right? Okay, and I'll say draw the resultant. Okay? Or maybe you'll have something, that's not what I want to do. Like this, right? And what would we do for this one? To do the result?
We move the top line right.
Yep, right, we can move things along their line of action as long as we aren't changing their sense, and as long as we aren't changing their rotation, right? Okay, so, everybody, we can knock those out of the park, right? Do you have a question, Justin?
Yeah,
Just
I was
stretch
just
it.
wondering if there would be like a review page that will give like different examples that we've already done, but, like something that we can actually like
Something that you can work through?
write.
Yeah, I can crank something like that out for you. I probably won't be able to get it posted until tonight or tomorrow morning, but yeah.
Well, we got, I mean, this is Thursday anyway, so,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not 100% done with my chapter 5 homework yet, or assignment 5.
Sure.
So.
Yep.
I think that'd be helpful
Yeah.
for me at least.
Okay.
And that way, yeah, because I think the only record of that I have is the PDF I turned in.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
It doesn't, I'd
So
rather,
if we
like
could,
you said, work through.
go
it.
over it on like Tuesday or something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and that's when I get done with it. The other thing that I was gonna say is, Tuesday, all that we'll do is, any questions that you have, I forget if there's one or two problems, in the section on the wood, I think it's just one. So, all Tuesday is gonna be is, what questions do you have on that homework, what questions do you have on the review? That's all that we're doing. We're not introducing any new material, we're not doing anything like that, so, I think that it's, you've had enough thrown at you to this point in the semester.
I thought we
So-
were over with midterms.
What's that?
We're beyond midterms.
No, we're not.
No, graduation. Graduation is when, that's when midterms stop. So,
Let's just do one big one. I think.
okay, so what did we talk about in chapter 2?
Trusses.
No, that was assignment 3, wasn't it?
They were in chapter 2, right? And
Investigation
what
of
specifically are we looking at in trusses?
Force.
We're looking at moments, but axial loading, right? We're looking at different axial loads. And remember that we started out by looking at just kind of general tension and compression.
Let me check this thing out.
What did we look at when we were trying to size out members?
Oh, that was like
Do you remember that first assignment? Right? Where we had,
Oh, like the square, the area of something?
Yep.
PFA and all that.
right? Our force divided by area is our pressure, right? Okay, so, and again, as Justin brought up, I'm more than happy to give you some examples of some things to look at, to review on these things. But remember that all you need to remember with this is how do you manipulate these things to find your unknown, okay?
Takes so long to do.
And then we also looked at trusses, right?
That was.
Which has definitely been everybody's highlight of the semester, I'm assuming. Now, just like with the bending and shear, I'm not going to draw out a truss and ask you to solve for everything. What I would do is, I would draw you out a truss, give you your reactions, and ask you to determine one member, okay? And so you'd have, if I want you to determine, BC, I'll say, 405, 170, 320, 540, and you'll have that angle. Okay? So all that you need to do is determine this one member, okay? Your homework has showed that you're able to step through that entire process with only 1.5 hour for the exam. That's all we'd be able to do, is we'd be able to do one truss, maybe, right? Okay? So I don't want you to get bogged down in that.
So, on something like that, would it just be, that's not the length, BC, right? So you can't just use like trigger or something like
Correct,
that, right?
correct. You have
You have
to
to go
use the
through-
magnitude of your forces. But remember, what we're truly getting after is, in this particular instance, in the real world application is, this is the dimensions that we're given, okay? We know what length this thing can be. Depending on what load it has to support, that will tell us how we size the thing, okay? Remember, this thing we're dealing with arbitrarily at some line on a board. It doesn't tell us anything about how it's actually physically specified for sizing, okay?
We have to eat chili dogs,
No, it's not March yet.
Yeah, it is, bro.
Oh, it is?
yeah.
It's the first today, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be today, guaranteed.
Because it was before spring break.
What was chapter 3?
Chapter
We were
3
just- we were
was
just
bending,
talking about
shear,
it
and
today,
bending.
right?
Shear and bending.
What the hell was chapter 4? Oh, bending was the wood. Is the wood part on the,
That's chapter 4.
yeah, okay.
It'll be game, yep, because you'll have your homework. You'll have a chance to do the homework on it. But again, it's, none of these, I'm not giving you, this, I would give you a full problem of this, right? Because you're given either pressure and area, or you're given force and area, or you're given pressure and force, okay? Oh, and I should say too, what else do we look at in here? we looked at stress strain, right?
The elasticity modulus.
Right, and where we can redraw this because, oops, that's
Oh,
not what I
right.
mean. And this equals delta L over L, right? And P equals F over A. So then we could say that it equals
F over 8 times E.
modulus equals stress times strain. So it becomes F over A times delta L over L, right? Remember those problems? Well, that was in the table where you had this, where you were given the
That was
static
for-
modulus.
Yeah, like it.
That's for like compression, like,
Yep, yeah, you have a steel rod, it's 1 inch in diameter, it elongates 0.116 inches under this much force, things like that.
And that was
That's chapter 2.
2, right?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
forgot about that.
So,
So in shear and bending, remember that's where we're working with our beams, our simple beams. We're determining the reactions. And again, I'm not going to give you a beam and ask you to draw the entire shear diagram. Okay, so, and I can give you some examples of what it is to look at to determine that, so.
I definitely need to work through the chapter 1 stuff. I was drawing a blank.
That's fine. We have an hour and a half next
Well,
Tuesday
I know,
to work
you know
on
what I
it.
mean, but
Okay?
I just seen your little notes here, so.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't see any of
Yeah. Very,
this stuff.
yeah, no, that I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about the result. I'm
Oh,
talking
this
about, like,
stuff?
no. That.
Okay, and then chapter 4,
Trust?
Oh, yeah, the truss. That's what I mean.
It's trust.
Triangle stuff.
Yeah, this stuff.
Yeah.
will be structural systems just for wood construction.
What do you mean?
Okay, and so this is, what would be fair game for a question would be diaphragm ratios. Remember that we're looking at 1:3 ratio.
That's length to width,
Length to width, right?
and then
And then,
same thing for height to width.
for wall ratio, yep, for shear wall ratio. Joist spacing, okay? So, make sure that you're paying attention to those.
So we get those charts or whatever, or
Yep,
we can
Yep,
just.
and yeah, again, your book is available to you, your notes are available to you, the homework that you've turned in is available to you, your computer is available to you, okay? That being said, your friend's notebook, your friend's computer, right? Just like in materials too, we're working on our own on the exams, okay?
Okay.
Exams aren't group work.
I don't trust anybody in here. I'm sure they don't want to hear from me either. I've been wrong.
Seem reasonable, seem achievable?
At a maybe a C level.
Okay.
C's get degrees.
That's right. It's all
So I'll
important.
post you that homework problem, and Justin had that great idea of some review problems. I'll pull some of those together.
It is. I need that.
I'll update the due date until midnight tonight then too, for the current homework.
I can share it, go home and look at it. You know what I mean?